This episode is made possible by Partisan. Ever wonder how Maggi started out? How about Knorr? Do you guys ever think about these two brands? You see them a lot on TV because of their massive advertising budget, and they've become too familiar that you never really think about them anymore. It's become second nature to just pick up their products since they're a household staple. Maggi and Knorr are two giant brands owned by two of the biggest food conglomerates, and they're in almost every country in the world. Between the two, Knorr was founded way earlier. Knorr originated in Germany and was founded by Karl Heinrich Theodor Knorr in 1838. Maggi, on the other hand, originated in Switzerland and was founded in 1884, around 46 years later. Even though Knorr was founded way earlier than Maggi, Maggi caught up pretty easily because of what it was able to do first. Maggi is credited as the first company to commercialize the bouillon cube. The bouillon cube, or the broth cube, consists of seasonings, dried meat, and salt, all compressed into a tiny cube. During that time, traveling meant being out on the road for days or even weeks. The bouillon cube was essential since it gave wayfarers and explorers access to a tasty soup meal that didn't require them to carry fresh ingredients. Before the bouillon cube was invented, people were making use of what they called portable soup. Portable soup was around since the late 1700s. Explorers described it as meat broth that was boiled down to a thick and dry paste, which they called jelly. We may underestimate the impact of the bouillon cube nowadays, treating it only as something that makes our soup meals tastier. It was considered as something essential during that period, especially when the alternative was to pack bricks of dried beef, salt, and dried chilies that they would then need to boil in water at campsites. And so why carry all of that when you can just bring a bouillon cube with you? It's smaller, it's lighter, and it's tastier. When the technology caught up, the manufacturing of the bouillon cube was now possible. Maggi was the first one to commercialize the bouillon cube when it released the product in 1908. Knorr followed their footsteps and did the same thing 4 years after, in 1912. These two brands were not alone, because by 1913, there were 10 other companies in the bouillon cube industry. But how was Maggi able to get a head start? Maggi was founded in 1884, entering the milling and convenience food business. 2 years later, in 1886, the Swiss government asked Julius Maggi to create a product for the working class. A food product that is easy to make, that you can cook quickly, one that was packed with nutrition, and one that can be sold at an affordable price. The goal of this product was to give busy blue-collar workers, particularly women who worked in factories, access to nutritious food that they could prepare during their short breaks. Julius Maggi then came up with 3 instant soup products. One was made of powdered pea and bean soup. It doesn't sound so enticing, but I'm sure it was delicious because it was a hit, and it became quite popular. Since the company was in a position to mass-produce these products and distribute them, people living in Germany, France, and Britain were able to enjoy them as early as 1888. Julius Maggi continued to innovate, and by 1908, Maggi started producing their version of the bouillon cube, becoming the strategic first-to-market brand in the industry. Knorr, on the other hand, was founded in 1838 in Heilbronn, Germany by Karl Heinrich Theodor Knorr. Initially, Knorr was in the business of supplying chicory to the coffee industry. Eventually, the company evolved and transitioned into making soup products. As I mentioned earlier, since portable soup was becoming a thing, portable soup of course is the precursor to the bouillon cube, Knorr began developing soup products. In the 1870s, Knorr already launched their first dried soup products across continental Europe, way earlier than Maggi did, which was in 1888. Maggi may be the first to launch the bouillon cube, but Knorr takes first place for soups. Now, this may be speculative because I couldn't find a source to confirm any of this, but it may be possible that these two brands were keeping an eye on each other ever since. I mean, just think about it. Maggi launched their soups 18 years after Knorr did. And then as for the bouillon cube, Knorr launched their version 4 years after Maggi did. And just by looking at the map, Switzerland and Germany are beside each other and they do share a border, so it wouldn't be that hard to spy on each other. Now, both with good products and in a rising industry, Maggi and Knorr grew rapidly. As early as the 1930s, Maggi's products were already being exported to China. Knorr first expanded into Maggi's territories, first entering Switzerland and Austria. And as for Knorr soups, they were getting traction too. Roald Amundsen, the Norwegian explorer, even brought Knorr soups with him when he was on a successful expedition tour to the South Pole. Knorr grew fast, but Maggi was faster. And seeing the potential of Maggi, another Swiss company wanted a piece of the brand's success. In 1947, Nestle acquired Maggi, which is relatively early compared to when Knorr was acquired by Unilever, which was in the year 2000. Now a part of the Nestle family, and now with the resources to dominate the world, Maggi continued expanding abroad, eventually entering Malaysia, Ukraine, South Africa, and New Zealand in the 1970s. Maggi had an easier time expanding abroad because of Nestle's already sizable footprint around the world. And now it leads us to their entry into one of their biggest markets, India. In the early 1980s, Nestle brought Maggi to India. We'll be going deeper into Maggi and Knorr's presence in India because it is where we get to see these two brands go head to head. India is home to around 1.2 billion people and is incredibly important for both brands. When Maggi entered this market, they introduced what would be perhaps their most important product, the Maggi 2-minute noodles. Maggi noodles in India is incredibly popular. You see, Maggi instant noodles are a perfect fit for this market. You can prepare it quickly, it's delicious, and it's really cheap. Maggi invested heavily in advertising, and the narrative they were creating was based around mothers. The goal of their advertising campaign was to repaint the image of the typical Indian mother. Normally, they would spend hours doing tedious work in the kitchen in order to prepare delicious food for the family. Maggi painted the image of the Maggi mom. This Maggi mom would only need to spend minutes in the kitchen with their Maggi 2-minute noodles. The Maggi mom could serve delicious food in no time. This campaign continued for years, bombarding the country with all these messages. The millions Maggi invested on these ads were nothing compared to what their sales figures were. Because of this campaign, noodles is now widely regarded as the third staple food for Indians, just right behind wheat and rice. And in 2014, Maggi became India's most trusted brand, achieving a peak of around 90% market share. And considering that the country's population that time was around 1.29 billion, that is a lot of money. But then, 2015 happened. In 2015, a food inspector from India's Food Safety and Drug Administration decided to run a test. He wanted to check whether Nestle's claim that Maggi contains no added MSG was in fact real. Well, when the results came back, they discovered that not only did Maggi noodles contain MSG, it contained MSG and lead at levels that were considered as not safe for consumption. It was 340 times the limit considered safe and over 1,000 times the limit that Nestle India claimed it allowed. Days later, these reports headlined every news network. Word spread about the safety hazards of eating Maggi noodles and sparked immediate concerns from the population. Oddly, it took Nestle 2 weeks to respond to these claims, and they simply downplayed these allegations and insisted that the tests that were run were inaccurate. Nestle claims that no MSG is added and that there's no need to worry because they prepare the noodles for the Indian market the same way they do for other countries abroad. Unfortunately for Nestle, in June of 2015, the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India ordered a recall of all Maggi noodles from the Indian market. Nestle recalled over 38,000 tons of noodles and had them burned. Maggi noodles were banned nationwide. The staggering ripple effect of this was how it affected other markets. Pakistan, which shares a border with India, was another country that was dominated by Maggi noodles. Maggi enjoyed monopoly-like levels of market leadership in Pakistan ever since its launch in 1992. But the Maggi noodles disaster in India caused tremors in the Pakistan market. Nestle Pakistan swiftly released a statement assuring everyone that Maggi noodles in Pakistan are made locally in the country and that they do not import noodles from India. Despite this, Maggi started losing market share. People still loved Maggi noodles, but no one was willing to risk the health of their family. And so, people started switching over to the next best alternative, which was Knorr. Knorr entered the Pakistan market in 1993, a year after Maggi did. From a market share of around 90%, Maggi's market share spiraled down to just 35%. Knorr claimed market leadership with a 55% market share during this whole affair. At first glance, you'd say that if it weren't for the scandal, no one would care about Knorr. But then apparently, even before the controversy, Maggi was already losing market share to Knorr. The lead scare simply accelerated the inevitable. The problem lies as to a key difference in the strategies of both brands, at least during that period. Maggi used the same formula for their products in each country they're in, assuming that people from all over the world loved the same Maggi taste. Knorr, on the other hand, would take a different route. Knorr would introduce a local version of their product catering to the different taste preference of each culture. They're simply better at localizing their product than Nestlé's Maggi, and as a result, they were gaining on Maggi even before all of this happened. The defeat of Maggi noodles in Pakistan was not Maggi's first loss. Remember how we used to have Maggi noodles here in the Philippines? I clearly remember seeing Maggi noodles everywhere available in grocery stores years ago. Apparently, in 2011, 4 years before the lead scare in India, Nestle Philippines voluntarily recalled batches of their Maggi noodles due to possible salmonella contamination. It's a big red flag that may have caused the demise of Maggi noodles here in the Philippines, something that didn't help them when local brand Lucky Me entered the picture. Lucky Me, of course, has since dominated the Philippine noodle market with a 98% market penetration. Now here's the funny part. Back in India, after conducting further tests, turns out Maggi noodles didn't have the alleged hazardous levels of lead and MSG. Turns out that the laboratories that conducted the initial testing were not accredited. Indian authorities recognized the mistake and lifted the nationwide ban of Maggi noodles. And just like that, in late 2015, Maggi was back. But unfortunately, the damage on the Maggi brand was a massive blow. Fortune estimates the whole scandal cost Nestle almost $500 million and, most importantly, market leadership in India. But in 2020, Maggi has since recovered lost market share at 60%. It's still not as great as their dominant 90% lead before, but they're getting there. Maggi's recovery journey required a lot of advertising. Their ad campaigns were focused around nostalgia, topped off with the tagline, "Enjoy your Maggi, loved and trusted for 35 years." As for Maggi Philippines, Maggi noodles are no longer available here, and the brand has focused heavily on their seasonings and sauces. Maggi and Knorr are still battling it out for the market leadership here in the Philippines. In fact, if you check out Knorr and Maggi's websites, you'd see that they both have pretty identical products, identical websites, and an almost identical marketing strategy. Knorr and Maggi are both in over 90 countries. Both Knorr and Maggi are billion-dollar brands, and also both Knorr and Maggi have yet to gain a foothold in the US. Neither of them have category-dominating products yet, and so it's gonna be interesting to know which of them makes it out on top. Knorr is part of Unilever's food and refreshment sector, which contributes over 25% of Unilever's operating profit. It remains as Unilever's largest single global brand. Now as for Maggi, Nestle India reports that 30% of their earnings comes from Maggi. Along with India, Maggi's biggest markets are Germany, Brazil, the Middle East, and West Africa. I loved how the Washington Post described Maggi. They said that, like salt, fat, acid, and heat, Maggi is one of the great unifiers of the world's kitchens and maybe Switzerland's largest and most influential culinary contribution. And they are absolutely right. The products of both Maggi and Knorr can be found in almost every kitchen. And knowing about their history and the impact their products have made makes me appreciate them even more. And so that's about it, guys. Now you know about the brand origin story of Maggi and Knorr. If you like this video, be sure to check out our other videos. They're about the origin stories of brands. And if you enjoy this show, it would mean a lot if you can tell your friends about Brand Origins. We're also on Facebook and Twitter, so you can say hi to us there as well. My name is Chris. I'll catch you again next time for another episode of Brand Origins.